Good evening, everybody. We're going to get going at 8 p.m. Sydney time. If you're on the live stream on YouTube, I'm unable to see the chat. So if you want to register for the webinar, I'll put the register link in the chat. So you can go ahead and register for the webinar. And then if you're in the webinar room with the rest of us, you're able to ask me questions. All right, so we're going to get going in a couple of minutes, just waiting for a few more people to come in, and then we'll get going. Thank you. Okay, everybody, if you're on the YouTube live stream or you're actually attending the webinar by registering, we're going to get going in a couple of minutes. I'm just going to wait for a few more people to arrive. So maybe start 2 minutes past the hour, and we'll get straight into it. Thank you. Okay, everybody, thanks for your patience. Welcome to this evening's ACY Securities webinar. My name is Duncan Cooper. Thanks very much for attending. Before we move along, if you can just read through the risk disclaimer. Good morning, Kabir. Hope it's good weather in the UK. All right, moving along. If you don't know me, I'm your host tonight. My name is Duncan Cooper. I'm the Senior Market Strategist and Trading Mentor at ACY Securities. I'm a full-time Forex trader. I've traded the market for more than 15 years, and I've been involved in mentoring clients for more than 10. If you need to contact me for any reason, you can get me at duncan.cooper@acy.com. Feel free to contact me if you've got any questions regarding the webinars. At the website, you can follow me at the Market News tab with my analysis at the YouTube ACY Securities Australia channel. You can find my analysis there too. Connecting with me personally, you can get me on Twitter and LinkedIn there. And so I'm going to go through a live market analysis. We'll have a look at the charts, see what's going on. I'm going to talk about the levels that I'm going to be watching. And before we get there, just to give you an update of where we're at within the beginner webinar series, tomorrow evening, 8 p.m. Sydney time, we'll go through the trade setup, limit order at a support or resistance zone. That's just following on from last week's session on bringing it all together, support and resistance zoning. So I'll be touching base on that again and showing you how you can trade at those levels using limit orders. And then next Tuesday, we've got a webinar on risk and trade management. All right, so that's what's coming up. So tonight we're going to get into the charts. Jacob, I can see you got your hand up there. Hopefully everything's okay. I'm streaming okay through you. If it's not, just type something into the question box or the chat. But I'll just assume that Jacob, you're talking about the swing point. So what's your question regarding the swing point? So the webinar here, trade setup swing point break. That was last night's webinar. So tomorrow's webinar is going to be trade setups, a limit order at a support or resistance zone. All right, hopefully that clarifies things for you. All right, if you're new to the webinars, just pausing because Jacob's asking me another question. Jacob, if you send me an email, there's my email on screen, and just request a link. When I have a link, I'll send it to you. So I might have a link over the next 24, 48 hours for that request, okay? So my email is duncan.cooper@acy.com. So if you want to send me an email at some point in the next 24 hours, and then as soon as I've got that link that you're requesting, I'll get it to you. All right, so I was just going to touch on my charts. My charts aren't the same as those that you can just download from the ACY website. So if you'd like to get access to my charts, then I'm just going to give a link to you. Bear with me a moment. I'm just going to put a link in the chat, and you'll be able to download So the first link I've given you in the chat, you'll be able to download this file. It's a WinRAR file. You'll need WinRAR software to open it up. Double click on it. And then within it, there are 5 folders, 2, 4, 5 folders. They all need to be moved into the MT4 trading platform folder. Just watch the video. It's 2 minutes long. That will tell you exactly how to do it. And then you'll have my upgrade. So what it will do is it doesn't delete anything out of the platform that you've already got created, but in the templates menu, it will add in these 4 templates. Along the menu here, I'll add in an extra few buttons, and down in the profile section, it will give you my four profiles, 1, 2, 3, 4. Currently tonight, I'm using the 12 pairs, okay? That's what I'm predominantly using at the moment. All right, so let's get into the charts. In fact, before we get into the charts, I just want to talk about the news, because what we're going to find tonight is that the market maybe a little bit slow, a little bit sideways. Nothing's really setting up intraday on, say, on a 15-minute chart at the moment. And I'm not really sure whether, if I do see anything setting up today, that I want to take it intraday until we get past the big news item or news items of the day. So this is foxfactory.com. It's a very good website to get the news coming out. The red calendar events are the ones I focus on. The times shown here are in my time, Queensland time. But if you go along to that website, which is forexfactory.com, then you can set this up to your own time frame. But tonight at 11:30 p.m., we've got US core retail sales and retails coming out, and an even bigger one coming out in the morning, my time, 5 o'clock in the morning for me. We've got the US FOMC statement, which is basically the interest rate statement. Is there going to be a change or not? And there'll be a press conference at 5:30. So that will definitely drive the market. A lot of traders will be waiting for that to come out. So the market can be rather slow. I was maybe expecting to further move down, say on the Aussie today, but that's just bouncing up from support ahead of that item coming out. So just be aware what's coming out and why the market's doing what it's doing. It's just waiting for some news events to come out, particularly the FOMC statement there. All right, so let's get into the charts. what I'm going to do is look at the charts in terms of trend and support and resistance from the higher timeframes, and then have a good idea where I want to trade tomorrow. Because as I say, I don't think I will be opening up a short-term position based on the fact that I might not be able to hold it open through a very large news item. If I do take a trade, I'll have to close it down before the news item comes out. So that being said, I'm just going to work out, I'm just going to click through them very quickly to see if I see anything setting up before we get into the higher time frames. All right, the closest one that might be in an area where you might get a setup, if you follow my setup styles, is the New Zealand dollar. So let's go through this one first of all. As I said, with the caveat for me at the moment, the market's going to be rather range bound, very small ranges. The New Zealand dollar today is only put in a 30 pip range all day long. All right, let's get to the monthly chart. So we've got a clear downtrend here on the monthly chart for the New Zealand dollar. And there's a monthly level of support that we're trading just below at the moment, this level here. We have been above it, and we've been stuck between two levels, this level and that level there, which you can't really see. I'll get to it on the weekly chart. MACD's crossed down, and I've been emphasizing that once we get a cross down, you see the cross down here, you can often get a very elongated trend. So I'm expecting an elongated trend maybe unfolding on this pair. So to the weekly chart, what's been happening, this monthly low here, which is at 68.04, that's been calling resistance over the last couple of trading sessions, last week and into this week. Down to the daily, well, back to the weekly a moment. This isn't a clear downtrend breaking below two weekly lows here. So the trends are down. Day trend is down, lower tops and bottoms. Yes, another MACD's crossed up. It's been up since we've been holding between these two monthly levels of resistance and support. So we've been contained for about 2 weeks here in that area, but we are below the lower level at the moment. Now, I don't know if that's a false move below or it's starting to commit below, but what I'm seeing at the moment as we get into lower time frames, here's the 4 hour trend is down with lower tops and bottoms. We're just popping back up, and the market's just asking itself, does it want to stay at or below 67.55, that monthly level of old support that we've broken through over the last couple of trading days. So the question would be, if I was intraday trading today, is this level going to hold as intraday resistance? So yesterday we moved below intraday, came back up and traded a bit above it here, but over 2, 3, 4, 5, about 6 or 7 candles here, it was trading above, but really started to close below. So the question is, as it's revisiting this level, is it going to hold to move down? So you could do is be waiting for a trend line break maybe to occur to trade down from that level if you want an intraday trade. As I said, the news is coming out later, and if the news is US dollar negative, then this pair is going to move higher. If the news is US dollar positive, this pair will move lower. And we don't know what that news will do. So it's very difficult to hold a trade if you're seeing a limited amount of profit or you've got a tight stop. So you just need to be aware of the environment we're dealing with in the current 24 hours. So something might set up here, may trade back down to the low of the day, but just factor in what news items are coming out later in the day. Long term though, just going back to the weekly, I'm anticipating a further move down here. Even last week, even though we had a positive week last week, we couldn't have a week up. So we're just contending with levels of monthly support that we're breaking below the previous time. And we could well be moving longer term down to this level of monthly support at 65.12. So it's just contending with support. Have we broken through the last monthly level before we move down to the next level of low support there on the monthly? Time will tell. All right, so you can monitor to see what it's doing there. Obviously, at the moment on the candle, it's moving up. So quite a number of pairs that's moving back up within the range that was formed yesterday as it waits for the news. And in all probability, that's what's probably happening on that pair. Well, I want to go to the dollar yen weekly chart, back to the monthly chart, where we're clearly last month holding at this monthly level here, 114.72. Traded above it, we rejected it, and I'm just roughly putting this level of support in down here. It's at about 101.18. I don't know if we're getting a major reversal, and are we going to see that level over the next 4 to 6 months? But at the moment, there's a major range here that the market's been trading in over the last 4 or 5 years, and we're failing at the top of it. Are we going to see a major move back down to the other side? More recent times, MACD's crossing down here. We've had a heavy rejection on the weekly chart, breaking the last higher bottom to a lower bottom. And last week was positive, having a slight positive week this week too, but we're getting held at this area that I've got drawn in, just here. That will become more apparent on the daily here. It's at 113.95. So to the nearest figure, it's the 11400 level. On the daily, we've got a lower top, higher bottom, so it's a little bit mixed. So it's consolidating here, waiting for maybe what the news is going to do tonight or tomorrow morning. And even if it pops up on positive US dollar news, this weekly trend is down, and all that we might be seeing on this particular pair is some form of retracement against a weekly drop, which changed the trend. So are we just moving up to, we're going to hold here at this resistance high that we formed on maybe a retest today. Are we going to pop higher up to 114.37, the 62% level? Are we going to come up and retest monthly resistance, major resistance at 114.72? Look, left in this area, there's lots of high points here that could hold the market. So I'm not sure what's going to happen after today's news, but that's an area where I'm watching. I'm just watching the weekly chart. Where does it pop up? Does it fail at a critical level? This is obviously the day chart in terms of my support and resistance. So 113.95 is where resistance is at the moment, and support here at 113.21.7. So post news, then we may see either one of those two levels break, and then I'm going to start to react accordingly. In an ideal world, just dropping to the 4-hour chart, you can see it very consolidatory. For me, the ideal world would be that we come up to the 113.95, the 114 level. We just touch that area and hold. Doesn't want to move through there because it's clear resistance. You can see it was resistance here. Further resistance here. So when we dropped, any rally up from that drop was at the 113.95 level. And it came up and did a double top. So that might be where all the sellers are. So it would be great if it came up there over the next 24 hours, held and failed. That would give me a clear indication then that we're probably moving down for a retest of 113.21. And then hopefully we can break that level and move back down with a longer term trend that's been forming on the weekly. So watching 113.95, what can price do there if we do rally back up there over the next 24 hours? All right, I'm going to start left on the Aussie yen. We'll go from top down. Monthly here, theoretically, let me just get rid of a few lines here. That's from the weekly chart at the moment. We're getting some support from monthly support here at 78.50. 461. And the monthly trend is actually, in terms of price action, still up, but we had a very negative reversal from up here at 85.80. And some of the price action that we've been seeing over the last month may well be setting the tone for the next 6 months in terms of the trend. We had a clear failure up here, so this is like a minor double top. And railroad tracks at monthly resistance. MACD's crossing down as well. I've talked about that. When we get a cross down on the monthly MACD, it's often the start of a very sustained trend in the direction of the cross. So at the moment, it's just got support on that candle from this top. We're a bit short of that level in the current month. The weekly trends is going to show you that we've broken below this weekly low here, but got some support. And we had a 1 week up last week from that level. So that level is at 78.838. And notably, we had some MACD divergence. This is a higher top to this area, but on the indicator, this top's lower. So we've got negative divergence showing at that top. So I'm expecting longer term that this weekly trend is going to further unfold to the downside. It's going to break below this weekly level of support. Just got that in the wrong number. 838 is the number. Got my 8s and 3s the wrong way around. So we've got a couple of levels of support there. There's another low here as well. 77.854. So we've got a number of levels of support that the market needs to break through, obviously move further down. So in an ideal world where, to me, this trend is down. In an ideal world, I want to be a seller higher up so that when price comes down for maybe a further test of support to break, I don't have to be trading into support. I've already traded higher up. So then I'm just waiting for the market to do its thing and hopefully trade through levels of support. If we have a bit of another week up, this level here at weekly resistance is 82.019. All right, always like to put the exact numbers in, 82.019. So those are the key areas of support or resistance for this pair. There's going to be some more minor ones on the daily. And there's one here that's the market last week was holding to. So I'll put that one in 81.471. And you can see that we haven't closed above that level last week. See how some of the candle tops were just rejecting that level. So that was a great area to look for your opportunity to sell down in that area of resistance at 81.47. I offered that on Monday as well. So 4 hour at the moment, it's just range bound a little bit. It's coming up. We break it down to 4 hour levels of support or resistance. There's an area of a low there at 81038, which the market's been trading around over the last 2 days. So a broken level of 4 hour support there. You can start to see that, move to the 1 hour chart, that here it is, we've been holding at or around that level. There was a nice area to trade down yesterday. So yesterday, central pivot in that area of resistance was a good level for failure, and you could have had a trade down a couple of times from that level, if not 3 times. At the moment, we're coming out and challenging the high yesterday. There it is. Often when a news event's coming out of major concern, we just trade it back up within the range. So we're just trading up to the high levels of yesterday. And you know what? Intraday, before the news comes out, we may well trade back down to the low areas of yesterday, or where it closed yesterday down here. So depending on you as a trader, we could well be failing right now where we're at. And we can see this drift back down to the lows of late New York trading down here. Long term, though, my bias is to the downside. If we didn't have that news coming out today, this would be a very much a focal area for me to be taking a trade for a move down with the dominant trend. Got a question coming in. Gaurav, yes, we'll have a look at gold. I'll get to that before we finish. All right, so you can monitor that. That looks like a nice area where I would expect it to fail. Don't know how much downtime it will move as we've got news coming out. But post news, this area at 8103 and the 8100 level could well be again in focus tomorrow. So I'll be watching that area again tomorrow once the news has passed. But back to the daily, I'm anticipating, we could pop up back up to 8147 where that's been holding resistance. If the news is positive for this pair, this could pop back up to 8147. So that would be a level I'll be watching tomorrow. Again, I'll be watching 8103, see where that is in relation to price action. Longer term, I'm trying to get short on a position to trade down the range for a retest of support down here, in the idea that support may break in line with the dominant weekly downtrend that's starting to form, okay? All right, Aussie dollar, same scenario. This is the high of yesterday. We're just popping back up to the highs of yesterday, like on the Aussie yen. Doesn't want to go above the high of yesterday. It's just range bound, waiting for the news. So, you could be looking for a trend line break to trade back down the range, back down to this level of weekly support. I actually anticipated early in the day that maybe spent some time through New York here, trading below weekly support. And then we were starting to hold at the central pivot. We did get a trend line break. And maybe we're going to get a break below this level, but it didn't occur. Had a false break early in the day. All right, let's get to the higher time frames, go through the trend. I want to see at the moment on the monthly, we've got lower tops and bottoms. MACD's crossed. I'm expecting a long-term move down this way over time. If we can break these levels of support that I've got drawn in at 7106 and 6991 that we've tested over the last, this current month, then a monthly level of support next in line will be at 6722. So that's my most immediate kind of longish term target if we can break the levels of support that we've been testing recently down there. So that's kind of a 1 or 2 month target. To the weekly, this is a downtrend, and this area up here at 7170 has been a very focal point of resistance. There's been some good opportunities to trade down from that level. And there may well be another opportunity to trade down from that level too over the next couple of days. So to the daily, so in terms of support and resistance that the market's operating within, it says 7170 level. You can see it broke below, held, broke below monthly support, came down to the next level of monthly support, then came all the way back up, held at this level here once more. This top here, held, it's come down. Monday, it retagged 7170. There was a good opportunity to trade down from that level. And we've tried to break below 7106, but really, traders don't want to commit ahead of the news. That's basically the key. After the news, price may come back up to 7170. Or, post news, that's when we might see a break of 7106. To trade down for a further test of 69.91. So that's what I'm anticipating. I did a video review of this pair on YouTube channel and the website. You can catch that if you want to go and have a look at our YouTube channel. So on the 4-hour chart, operating very similar to the Aussie yen at the moment. This 4-hour old support level here, 71.31, is offering as resistance now. That's that line just drawn in. You can see we're back below it. And If you want to trade intraday at the moment, while you wait for the news, you can quite clearly see that it's holding at yesterday's high. It's faltering at that 4-hour resistance. There's a likelihood it's going to trade back down to weekly support over the next few hours. I'm sure that Aussie yen is giving you a trend line break there. All right, so those are the levels I'm going to be watching over the next 24 hours. If we pop up aggressively after the news, 71.70s in area I'm going to be watching. If we pop below 71.06 aggressively when the news comes out, then tomorrow I'll be focusing on 7100 to 71.06 as new resistance to trade around. All right. Euro yen. Monthly chart here, MACD's crossed down like many of the pairs. We're seeing lots of pairs on the monthly chart crossing down, putting in lower tops, putting in railroad tracks over the last 2 months. And we've just been bouncing on this monthly level of support at 127.07. From a weekly perspective, we've got a weekly double bottom here that the market keeps trading below and popping back above. We did trade, I think, just below it yesterday, and we're just holding above it. Last week, we just managed to weak up, but it was like, we couldn't hold the length of the candle, a bit wicky, and that may be all that the market's got before it wants to start to erode the support levels they've got drawn in from the monthly chart here. That monthly low there and that monthly top there. Now we could see a sustained trend, as I said, on the monthly chart. We've had a cross down the MACD. We could be coming back down to these depths over the next 6 months. So it's worth noting what price is doing. It's double topping kind of up here. I did a video analysis of this quite recently, and using that kind of double top pattern, coming up with a target down here at 121.73. which lines up with this monthly level of support at 121.61.6. So that's my long-term target, 121.61.6. From that double top price projection, it's the height of the pattern projected below. Now, of course, that's just a projection. Price may well never get down there, but I'm just using a pattern to give me a longer-term look at where price may go. At the moment, what we're needing to see is a break of this support if we are going to move down. So the weekly trend is down, but the daily here ever so slightly up. Got a lower bottom to a higher top and a new bottom forming here on that weekly level of support here. But yesterday, you can see last 2 candles have been negative, even though we were trading up in the days. When you're looking at the candles, they're not looking very positive to the upside. Any upward movements get met quite soon. So 2 negative days, we're just holding on support as we wait for the news. Is it going to be, yen positive or yen negative when the news comes out? So you can see it's very much consolidatory here at the moment. I'm just waiting for a clear sign. The weekly trend is down, so I'm waiting for a nice clear break in line with that trend. So a break would be a break of this weekly level of support here, 127.92. We did trade fractionally below yesterday, but can it, on my 4-hour chart, can it clearly break down? Ideally, maybe trade below these lows. Have a rally back up in that 127.92 area, becomes resistance. So that's what I'm watching for, because the weekly trend is down. Could be the opposite way around, and we could be moving back up to the upside in the short term. But I'm getting my bias from the weekly chart, this double top pattern up here. We are slowly but surely keep trading below these lows, and the weekly trend is down because that's a lower bottom. So I'm trying to align myself with the trend, looking for a break. Of course, this could act as strong support. If I start to see stronger price action, then maybe we're going to trade all the way back up to resistance up here. First level of resistance though, any form of strong price action on this pair, 130.73.6 would be a critical area. So if you start to see positive action and you want to trade up to the upside, that's the critical level that the market will be watching when it comes up the range. And if I put a fib in as well on that weekly chart, 62 is a bit above. It's at 131.27. So it could get up to there if it really wanted to. Maybe we're going, sorry, I haven't quite drawn that properly. 62 is at 131.14. So we're down. We could be having a rally back up post news, back up to resistance at 130.73. Could sneak above that to 131.14. But if it gets into any one of those areas, I'll be watching for failure. If it can't hold above 130.73, that's the drop, rally. That's where it's going to put in the lower top on the weekly chart for the next move down. So the question is, are we only having 1 week up? Are we having a deeper rally? If we're having a deeper rally, that's where you want to start setting yourself up for a short for the next longer term move down. That's if we don't break below 127.92 over the next few trading days. All right, so I'll give you what I'm looking for at the moment on the 4-hour chart. I'm looking for a break, a rally back up to 127.92, and that to become hard resistance. The euro dollar. Monthly chart here is in a clear downtrend, and we've got a monthly top here that we've broken below. And this second line here is a weekly top. A weekly top's here. So we've had a nice run down on the weekly charts in the downtrend. I'm just waiting for price. So it's had 1 week up, two positive weeks, but 1 week up. I'm just watching to see if price can get up higher. So that weekly level there is at 114.22. So anyway, around about 114, 114.22. I'd like to see that hold as resistance. Got a couple of messages coming in. So Jacob, you're saying in the case where the resistance will be, and then you say euro yen in double bottom pattern. Well, there is the potential on the euro yen. It's going back to that to be a double. There's a double bottom there, but we've quite clearly traded below it. So to me, that double bottom there, the level of support, it's kind of been eroded in this price action. So, that to me as a double bottom that's holding, I don't think it's really holding. So you're saying, so where's the entry in the case of that being resistance? Well, for me, if I was just trading on the 4-hour chart like I was showing you, I'd like that to be a good drop. Can it break through these lows, the final low? And then in a perfect world, what I'd like to see, and often this is what the perfect world does. So we drop down, and then we can draw a fib, and then we bounce back up, and the 62% level will often line up with the broken level of support. So if I have an overlap like that, I'll just trade at the level. Or if I don't have an overlap with the fib, what I will do is, yes, on the 4-hour chart, I'm still waiting for this drop. I'll rally back up to that level. Then I'll just drop down to my 15-minute chart at that level to see what price is doing. Do I see rejection on the 15-minute chart? Do I see a trend line break on a 15-minute chart? That's telling me that price is holding there as resistance and wants to move back down. All right, so I'll often just drop down to the 15-minute chart. If I've got a 62% fib there as well, I'll often just trade at the level, put my stop above the level. All right. So to tell you exactly how I'm going to execute will depend on what price does once it breaks through and what I'm seeing in terms of can I draw a fib across that area as well. All right. Hopefully that helps you out in terms of, breaking that down into an entry point exactly. But at the moment, that's all hypothetical because I won't know exactly what price is doing until it's there. But if we do have a clear breakdown, then I'll be looking at that level to act as resistance, and then I have to work out how I'm going to manufacture an entry at or around that level. So as we're showing you on the Aussie yen here, this resistance area here, which is kind of still acting as, maybe not quite resistance yet because price is back above it, but I'd be waiting, for a clear trend line breakdown. Whereas we haven't got a clear trend line break there just yet. All right, getting back to the euro dollar. So I was saying on the weekly chart on the euro dollar, clear weekly trend down, clear monthly trend down. I've got a level of weekly resistance here, a level of monthly resistance, and I'd like this to go higher up. So this is a pair that I have been trading down through this. For me at the moment, though, I'm just concerned that it might have a bit of more of a bounce up. So I'd like to be trading to the downside, just slightly higher up than where price is at the moment. Of course, what I want and what the market will offer is two different things. At the moment on the daily, you can see we've got a higher bottom, lower top. It's a little bit range bound, a little bit lackluster. There's no clear trend there on the daily. So that's why I'm just on the side with this pair. I'd like it to come up to a good level. And to go back in time here, see this level of old support where we traded down and it came back up and became resistance for the next move down. So the two levels I've drawn in here, that's what I'd like to see. Price action come up and become resistance at one of those levels, like we saw here. And then I'd look to engage. At the moment, daily chart price action there isn't that clear. It's not as clean as I'd like to see it, so I'll just look at a different pair. Predominantly at the moment, I've been trading the Aussie and the Aussie dollar down from their resistance areas. They've been very nice. They've been a little bit clearer. So I'm not going to go down to any further level at the moment on this pair. I'd just like to see, we're at 112.74. We're only 130 pips, 150 pips max away from this weekly level. We could be there in 2 days. If the news is negative for the US dollar, we could be there over the next 48 hours for sure. And then I'm going to be watching to see what it's doing at the 114 approximate level. Pound yen monthly, this, as I said to you this time last week, what I'm seeing long term maybe, and it's a very similar look to what we're seeing on the dollar yen. Just get rid of that middle line for a moment. Is obviously we're holding at monthly resistance here. Are we long term going to be trading down to the bottom of the range? Now, if the dollar yen starts to sell off from the top of its range, that's going to come into play, affect the pound yen too, and this could be moving long term down there. Last month, and the month before, got railroad tracks, false break of that monthly top. Currently, we're just stuck in this very kind of horrible resistance and support on the monthly chart. MACD crosses down, that would be great. That's going to probably start to predict that, yes, maybe we'll break below monthly support. So I'm just watching to see what this pair wants to do. At the moment, it's range bound, but the thing that makes me cautious about trading north is, like I showed you on, I think it was a dollar yen, we've got negative divergence on that false break at the top. So to me, that just changes my feeling that we're going to get a longer term move to the downside over time, which means we're going to break that level of monthly support that we're seeing here. Obviously, there's clear support here. Now, if we come back down for another test of these weekly levels of support here, about the 148, it's about the 149 level through here. And then we're at 148.45. So it's 149 approximately to 148.50, 50 pips band of support there. You come back down there again and hold. We may well then hold and move back up. For me, because my bias is to the downside with the major failure at the top, This weekly resistance here at 152.846 showed you a similar level on the euro yen if we have a pop up. That's the next, if we rally up, that's the critical level of resistance. If we hold there, that's where the lower top will be forming on the weekly chart to then trade down for the next run at breaking support. So for me, I'm on the sidelines. I'm just waiting to see what is price doing. Does it get to an area where I like to trade at? That would be a great level for me to watch for failure at 152.84.6. At the moment, if that is resistance, if we move back up, and this is support here, we're in the middle of those 2 points. So we're in the middle of that range that I've drawn. So it doesn't excite me. We're right where it is. And you can see there's even a smaller range here on the daily chart that we're kind of chopping around in. So it's a little bit short of direction at the moment. But if we came back up to this area, or as well, I could draw in the lowest point of that support that was 152.328. Then that area there could act as good resistance then to trade down. So we could see price at the moment coming up to here. Then hold, putting the lower top on the weekly, and then it's up making its next move down for retesting support. As well, back to the news for the week, I did eye up into late into my evening Thursday. We got the pound interest rate decision. There's some expectation that some of these votes might change. The votes might get more closer to reducing asset purchase facility and closer to voting for an interest rate change. So if those numbers improve rather than remain as forecast, then we may well see a pop-up of the pound yen and the pound dollar. So pound yen popping up into this zone. And then I'll have a closer look at that pair to trade. All right, pound dollar. We've just take these two lines off at the moment. This is the monthly chart. We've been holding below this monthly top that we've broken below. These crossed down. I've got a potential, range here. Just drawing in my crosshairs at the bottom there. Potential range there that we could trade down to long term, because we've obviously failed at the top of the range here. So I'm expecting long term we're moving downwards. We won't get down there next month. Then this could take a couple of years to get down there, but we've quite clearly failed at the top of the range. So as we break it down to more closer time price action, then this is an old monthly top that we moved through. We're getting close to this weekly level of support. Trend is down on the weekly. For me, this is a bit too long in its move down. We're having a positive week last week. We're having a positive week intra-week. Any positive news that might come out from the pound news tomorrow will pop this up. Won't change the weekly trend. This is 134.11, that level of support. I like to trade with the trend, the dominant trend, and that is down on this pair. But for me at the moment, it's just a bit too low down in the move. But 134.11, broken level of weekly support, would be a great level to watch for price to put in a lower top on the weekly chart. All right, so looks like the daily chart might be turning to up. Now, if you're just in an intraday trader period, daily chart is turning to up. So, you're starting to look for opportunities to trade upwards, but just be aware that the higher time frame monthly and weekly trends are down. So how long have you got in that to trade up? And it's in all probability, it would be, 134.11 or the 134.100 level. All right, where 134.100 level comes in with these tops, around these tops here. That's one. That's Just looking at the numbers here. Well, this one's very close to, that's a 133.95, this one here. So those two levels there will catch my eye for sure as we're moving up. Assuming that we can get that high, around about the 134 level, that's 133.95, 134.11. So I'm just watching to see, because I'm expecting long term, this is moving down long term. All right. So I want to position myself with that long term trend. Up here on the daily, 134.11, 133.95 would be good. 4-hour chart here, you can see it's not great at the moment on the 4-hour chart. It's very choppy. And even though we broke above the last lower top on the daily, which is there, I think that's 132.75. Yep. We're just holding at that top there. So we've been going up, down to support, up to resistance, or we're back down to support. So it's got a very slight upward bias. Don't forget where the long-term trend is. So I'm not going to be trading the pound dollar till we get past the pound news tomorrow. And then I'll see what price action does. It would be great if it popped up. You know, we've been up to 132.75. We're only 125 pips away from the area that I'm really watching. So we could easily pop up to that come the end of Thursday. And then I'm watching up that area for opportunities to trade to the downside. At the moment, intraday, you can see that we are holding at the red pivot, daily resistance, and it doesn't like it up there. And obviously it's trading down at the moment, back into the range. Not seeing a setup to trade. There's no trend line breakdown at the moment. And, you know, if it comes back up to retest today and holds, and then you can draw in a trend line, a tight trend line. That might be a trade that you want to take down from resistance, day chart resistance, okay, and the sell zone and the pivot points. So I'm not seeing a trigger for a trade, but it is a nice area to trade down from intraday. May revisit later in the day. All right, now I did get a request for gold. So I'm going to get into gold now. So we stay in the time zone of the webinar. Where's my gold chart gone? Here we go. Let me just tidy things up a bit. All right, so long term at the moment, this is the monthly chart. It doesn't look very good on the monthly chart because it's range bound. We're holding at this top at 119.20. We're holding on support at around at 116.76. If I'm seeing anything within the range that I've drawn in, is that price action, you know, it's moved up. It's come back down. The last move up, it didn't meet the top of the range. It's gone to there. Is that a lower top forming within that range to move down and break through support? All right, so that's the weekly chart look within the range. This failure here failed at that level of weekly resistance there. So we just draw these swings in. Often these upward legs and downward legs can repeat. But if we are getting a trend change, this is a lower top leg, then that length of leg there could get copied down from that top. That would break support. That's if we're starting to see a downtrend form here. Just move that to the side. So you get the picture. That could be the next leg down. Just want to take these lines off so we can see the trend on the weekly. So we've got some support here that the market's holding on. 176.61 approximate area there, and a slightly lower area just there. If those two levels break, then that's really starting to tell the story of a move down to around about the 1639 level or deeper. Or it might be moving back down to support to hold. So the thing that I don't like, even where I've drawn my monthly level of support, and then I've got that weekly level in here. The thing that I don't like about the pair or the instrument, it's not a pair, it's kind of a pair, it's gold versus the US dollar, but it's not Forex pair, is where it is right now. It's right in the middle of the range they've drawn. So buyers and sellers are just fighting it out in the middle of the range. We're not at a clear level of support to trade up from. We're not at a clear level of resistance to trade down from. So, it's always great. Somebody asks me, what do I think? But sometimes when I look at it from a trading point of view, I'm not seeing anything to do other than what I can quite clearly see here is I'm just referencing these three lows. I'll use this one here because that false broke and that's slightly higher. So this is the critical level of support, which is at $170.60.25. So pretty much the 60 level is acting as, so 117.60 to the exact number is where support is. And then we've got a smaller range of price action here forming if you go to the 4-hour chart. What I'm seeing is that we're not quite getting down to the line of support that I've drawn. So that's slightly positive for the instrument because the buyers are coming in ahead of support. But you can also see that you've got a band of resistance forming across there. So really the traders in gold are waiting for something, maybe a change in the announcement tonight from the interest rate statement. The other thing that, goes in line with what gold's going to do is we go to the S&P 500. So at the moment for me on gold, it's just range bound on lots of time frames, very much range bound there on the 4-hour chart. To me at the moment, if you got down to 170.60 and started to bounce off on the 4-hour chart, you get a positive candle close up from support. That's probably predicting that it's moving back up to the area of 4-hour resistance because it's just in a range at the moment. But the thing, that's been happening, this is the S&P 500. This has been moving down. It's had a sharp rally back up. And I actually posted this out on Twitter. There you go. And to the fact that I'll be getting a double top forming here for a move down. And what I tweeted out was the fact that my double top is a double top projected below, gets projected down to this level of monthly support here, around about the 142.65, 66 level. So the thing that's going to wake up gold is what does the S&P 500 do? If this is a true double top and we're topping out and we're going to see some nice, strong, healthy price action down from that double top, then, money may then flow into gold and pop it up because quite clearly gold, if you move back to gold, back to the day chart, it's quite clearly holding on support here. So if we break above this this 4-hour range that I was showing you. So if we break above this area here, if the S&P 500 collapses, this is probably going to come back up to the range, top of the range. So I think this is very quiet because traders are waiting to see what kind of hand is shown on the S&P 500, and then they'll trade that accordingly. Okay. All right, I'm not sure who asked me, Jacob, was it you, Jacob, that asked me about gold? Just going back through my chat. All right, I'm not sure who it was that asked me about gold. I think the question, Gaurav, that was you, yes. Right, so Gaurav, hopefully that helped you out. It's very range bound, as I was saying. I'm giving you reasons why I think it's range bound. I think it's waiting for the S&P 500 to, show its hand. And as well, the thing we all have to consider, I've been showing you where I think the trends are moving and the levels that I'd like to be trading at to get myself in a position to trade those trends is we are heading into the Christmas period. What are we? A week away from Christmas Day. Some people are starting to go on leave now, or they're starting to close their positions out for their Christmas leave, next week. So the market can get range bound, even though there's a higher time frame trend there. When we get into intraday trading, into the day chart and the 4-hour chart, like I was showing you on the euro dollar at the moment, which is a bit indecisive on the daily, it's because we're heading into that Christmas period. Volume of trading is lighter, and so often the move or the trend that we're seeing on the day chart it gets a bit mixed because traders aren't there. The heavy traders trading lots of money, they're not trading because they're on holiday. So just bear that in mind. It's not always the case through the Christmas period that we don't have trends, but it's worth knowing that we're getting into a slower period of the year. I'm not going to be trading too much through the Christmas period, and that'll be the same for a lot of other people. Not that I don't trade in hundreds of millions of dollars, so I'm not driving the market. But that being said, I'll probably be on holiday for a bit of a period. So will the traders, and all as traders all around the world have the same focus at this time of year. Then you are going to potentially see ranges coming into effect, and I think on some pairs we're seeing that already. But bear that in mind. But if this S&P 500 continues its strength down here, we may see some volatility through the Christmas period. Time will tell. All right, everybody, any final questions before we conclude? Thanks very much for attending this evening. Hopefully got some good levels. As I've highlighted earlier, big news event coming out. A couple of news events. Big news event for all the pairs. These times are my time, 5 o'clock in the morning, Queensland time. We've got the interest rate decision for the US. And then a big event as well for the pound tomorrow with its interest rate decision. So pound pairs may well be quiet, trading into there. I think we're going to be quiet, generally speaking, across a lot of the pairs till we get to 5 o'clock in the morning, my time. If you're on YouTube, sorry I couldn't answer your chat, but hopefully you got some value from the presentation. If you like the presentation, you can always come to our website, which is just pulling up here, education, acy.com, EN education webinars. We've got another webinar coming out tomorrow evening. Trade setups, limit order, and a support resistance zone. You're more than welcome to attend. So just come to the website and register, and then you can ask questions in the webinar room. So I'm just pausing because I've got a couple of questions coming in. Jacob, you asked me what will happen in the Christmas period. I think I've just covered that. And you're saying you have a few questions, please answer. I think just going back. I think I've covered all your questions. If I haven't covered a question there for you, Jacob, can you just retype it in? All right. I'll just wait for your question coming in. For everybody else, especially on YouTube, thanks very much for attending. I'm going to end the YouTube live stream now. So thanks very much for attending if you're on there.